Off a dominant win over Angela Hill, and prior to that fight, you said you would express an interest in fighting Jessica Penne. Given the nature of Penne's last loss against Joanna Jędrzejczyk being so one-sided, is Penne still someone you're looking at, or are we looking at something more like maybe a rematch with Miranda Marcos, who got a tough split decision win over you while you guys were in the Tough House?
Yeah, don't hold it or not, sorry. So with Jessica Penne, what I stated was I wanted to fight her prior to Angela Hill. That's who I wanted that fight to be with, because I thought that made sense, 3-5. But no, I have no reason to fight her. She's coming off a loss. I want to make my way to that top. So I just saw that Carla is out. I thought that could be possibly my next fight. I know she's coming off a loss too, but she's still in the top 5. So I think the next logical answer is probably Miranda Marcos, and I would like to avenge that loss. Obviously, it's not on my record, thank God. But under different circumstances, I believe, I would have won that fight.
Did you see Randa's Instagram post recently?
No, I didn't.
It was just a photo of you two guys in the cage and a throwback Thursday to her winning that fight. Do you have any comments about that?
Oh, no. She's a cool girl. I have nothing against Randa. I like her. And I've thrown some throwback Thursdays and girls I beat too, so, hats off to her.
All right.
In terms of timeline, how do you feel physically when you feel like you can get back in the octagon?
Oh, I'd like to fight within 4 months. That's where I want to cut it off there. I don't want to fight. So within 2 to 3 months would be ideal, honestly. I waited 6 months for this Mexico card. I was honored to be in Mexico. I understand why they put me on it, my heritage background, but I'm ready to get in right now.
Is there any other specific place you're interested in fighting in next?
Not necessarily. It's definitely in the States. I don't want to fight in altitude anytime soon again. That was really rough on my body and rough on the fight as well. I didn't perform to my highest ability.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that, especially given Kane's performance. Being that you actually fought there, how bad was the altitude, and especially with the air quality in Mexico being notoriously poor? What was that experience like?
It was definitely rough. 2 weeks was not enough. Verdum had the right way about doing it, 30 to 40 days, and he was training at higher altitude than even what we fought at. So given the opportunity to fight again in Mexico, I would definitely go out longer. But when you go out longer, you can't take out a camp, your coaches for 30, 40 days. Coming from ATT, we have over 70 professional fighters. I can't take a coach for that long. So it really wouldn't be to my benefit fighting in Mexico again. I loved it there, but unfortunately, I would like to fight stateside or somewhere, where there's no altitude.
Jessica Aguilar was just here a little bit ago, so she feels like she's the best fighter in the division. What's your thoughts on that big fight coming up with her and Claudia?
I think it's awesome that Jessica is in the UFC now. She was the World Series champion. I definitely think she is and deserves to be #1 in the world. Now she's here to prove it within the UFC. Fortunately, with ATT, we have many strawweights in the UFC, 4 now with her. So it is competitive, but at this point, I don't see anybody fighting each other unless it was for that title shot. But, I will always help my opponents, my teammates, and they will, always help me as well. So I'm there for her. I want her to win, obviously, bring back a win to ATT. But yeah, it's definitely a tough fight to come to the UFC. The UFC is saying, you're #1, show me you're #1. And I think she'll be able to do it with Claudia.
Were you impressed with Joanna's performance, or last 2 performances, what you've seen?
Oh, for sure. Joanna is Joanna champion, and she deserves to be called that. She's amazing. I think that, like I've said previously before, I'm still growing in the sport, and she came out of nowhere. I didn't know her before. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know her, but she's a world champ for a reason, in Muay Thai and now here. So I think it's going to take a special woman to go out there and beat her.
Yeah, now your last couple victories in the UFC, you've basically controlled in wrestling these decisions. Are you doing something more in training to try to get finishes to impress people to get that title shot?
Oh, for sure. I always want to, get a finish, but unfortunately they've been all decisions. But even though they've been decisions, they've been unanimous. I don't think I've really lost too many rounds within the UFC out of my wins. So I think it's just, knowing the game more. I've only been professional for 2 years now. I'm 25. I still have a lot to grow, within myself as a woman and within the UFC. So I look forward to what comes next. But now I showed that I can actually do some wrestling, and that I've improved since the show, because that's where I lost against Miranda Carla in the wrestling department. So I'm looking forward to just putting everything together and being a complete fighter in my next fight.